Hi, I'm Scott Lucas. This is today's EAWorldView on Syria. Turkey is in the fight. Last week, an extraordinary audio tape was leaked revealing high-level Turkish discussions about military intervention in Syria. That's right. Foreign Minister Ahmet Davutoglu, the head of Turkey's intelligence service, and Turkey's leading military officer were talking about sending in Turkish aerial attacks and possibly even ground forces into Syria, more than 3 years after the start of the conflict. How would they do this? The head of the intelligence service thought that if they could use the pretext of an attack on the tomb of the grandfather of the founder of the Ottoman Empire, conveniently located in Aleppo province in northern Syria, they could say that this required Turkish protection and a response to the threat of, say, the Islamic State of Iraq and Sham, the faction which has been desecrating mosques, as well as carrying out brutal attacks on civilians and other insurgents across northern Syria for months. The head of the military thought, well, this could have consequences. For example, it could bring retaliation against our forces by not only the Islamic State of Iraq, but of course by the forces of President Assad. But Davutoglu and the head of the intelligence service, considering the option, said, the situation might become serious enough that we have to consider making a military response. And it's not just them. Prime Minister Erdogan has been saying for weeks that he would respond firmly if the tomb in Aleppo province was desecrated, and has continued to insist that President Assad is a bloody, illegitimate dictator. Now, this may not mean direct Turkish intervention, warplanes going in, troops on the ground. But there's something else that's been happening. For over the last 11 days, insurgents have been fighting in Latakia province against the Assad regime, making significant gains, and they have done it with Turkish support. Latakia province is conveniently on the border with Turkey. The last regime post with Turkey was taken by insurgents at the start of the offensive. That means insurgents control the entire frontier between the two countries. That means that supplies from Turkey can make it across the border, and they have been going across the border in support of that offensive. That means that the Turks can provide intelligence on Syrian military positions, on militia positions, and they have been doing so. That means that the Turks can threaten to shoot down Syrian warplanes and helicopters if they stray into Turkish airspace in pursuit of the insurgents, and they have done so, downing a Syrian helicopter at the very start of the offensive last week. Now, it appears that Turkey has not provided significant weapons to the insurgents. The insurgents, quite frankly, don't need those right now at this stage of the Latakia offensive because they have captured a great deal of armament from regime stocks, and they have been well supplied from elsewhere. But make no mistake, this offensive has Ankara's seal of approval. And that seal of approval has wider consequences. You see, for months, and especially in recent weeks, we have been told that foreign backers of the insurgency are backing away. We have been told that the insurgents will be left to wither and perhaps die in the face of the Assad regime's attack, because after all, the Syrian regime is winning. Now, there's been some support for this hypothesis because, quite frankly, the United States has been backing away, or at least has been indecisive about what exactly it wants to do. But Saudi Arabia, contrary to the reports, is not stepping aside from the insurgents. It continues to provide supplies, money, intelligence, and political support. Other Gulf states do the same. And, despite some chatter, most of it ill-informed, Ankara is not backing away. To the contrary, the Erdogan government is making it clear that it still is committed to the overthrow of President Assad. And what's more, its victory in local elections last weekend in Turkey gives it a firmer foundation to pursue that objective. In other words, it can carry out a possible intervention without fear that widespread public protest will push it from office. Don't believe me? Have a look at the Syrian regime media over the last week. Every day, vicious rhetorical assaults on Turkey for supporting terrorists, for violating international law, for carrying out bloodshed. The Turks are being accused, in other words, of almost masterminding the offensive. That's going too far. but it does show that Damascus recognizes what many other people outside Syria do not, that Turkey is a committed foe, and that this will continue alongside the Syrian insurgency for some time to come. I'm Scott Lucas, and this has been today's EA Worldview on Syria.